So we did 3 different dyes. We did ʻAmauʻu, fern, we did Kukaenene, and we did Olena. So for the Kukaenene, over the period of a few months in like January, February, we headed out into the forest and collected the berries of the Kukaenene, and just collected maybe about a Ziploc bag full and had them in the freezer until the day that we were going to do the dye. We're dyeing with Kukaenene. After we've gathered it, you can store them in the freezer until you have enough. And what I do is, once I have about a Ziploc bag full, I'll put it into a pot, cover it with water, and bring that to kind of a simmer. And I like to be able to still be able to kind of touch it, so not too hot, that's why. And then what I would do is I would use a strainer that would fit inside, and I would scoop, and I would use a fork or another kind of a spoon or something, and I would just kind of press all of the berries down so that all of the pigment is coming out. And once you've done that and you feel like you got a lot of pigment out, it can take a long time sometimes, and you can think like there's so much more. So it kind of depends on how much time you have too, because you could probably stay there for hours just trying to get every last bit of pigment out. But I think we said maybe like half an hour we had there, and we're just kind of straining and smashing and getting as much as we could out in that period of time. After we did that, we strained the whole dye bath so that we could remove all of the seeds and all of the excess fruit flesh out. And so what we were left with was just a clean dye bath. For the ʻAmauʻu, I actually had a leftover dye bath from the year before. But with the ʻAmauʻu, went up and gathered in the saddle area, cut up the fern into like 1-inch chunks and let that soak for a couple of days, and then brought it to a boil for about an hour, and then let it sit for another couple of days so that all the pigments could come out. Removed all of the ʻAmauʻu material out of the dye bath, and then dyed my hula material with it. But after that whole dye process, I just put it into a bucket and had it stored. Your hau, just like with your fabric, you kind of want to wet it first so that the fibers kind of take it in a little bit quicker, and just it helps the fibers if you wet it first. So you can wet that, and then you put it in, and it's really fun to kind of put it in a little bit, and then you can pull it up because you can kind of see the contrast. You put it in, and then you want to make sure everything is submerged, is ho'olu'u, and you leave it in there for kind of how long you want to. The ones that we have here that we've shown were dyed for maybe about 30 to 45 minutes. The longer you dye it, the longer you have it in the dye bath, the darker it's gonna get. And so it's kind of really depending on your color preference and the amount of time you have. In some cases, I've put it in when it was boiling, made sure it was all submerged, put the cover on, and left it for a few days. And then you take it out, and then you got kind of a darker dye. So it kind of really depends on what it is that you want. But once you've left it in for your determined time amount, then you can take it out, rinse it out, and hang it up to dry. For the ones that we didn't really add any mordant except for salt. And when we actually prepared our dye bath, we prepared it with salt water because we were next to the ocean. So that's how we did it. Some tips, I guess, when you are dyeing the cordage, because it's so long and stringy, you don't want to, you want to be careful not to stir it crazy so that it gets all tangled. It also helped, we kind of braided a cord and tied it to the end so that we knew kind of where it was tied, and it was easy to take just one tie and pull it out. I guess you could also put it in kind of like a mesh bag if you wanted to kind of keep it all together. That can help. And I've also done pre-twisted cord before. That's sometimes it soaks in and sometimes it doesn't soak in all the way, depending on how tight your cord is twisted, but it's definitely a possibility. dyeing cordage is also can be done when you have a larger dye bath that you're dyeing with fabric. You know, you can throw in a cord and kind of let it do its thing. So yeah, I would suggest it to anybody who has kind of an interest in dyeing. Hau is an amazing one to dye with. It's natural. I feel like the fibers take the dye very well, but I think you can also experiment with other natural, with like 100% cotton. I feel like it's just an easy way to be able, it's convenient because you're not dyeing like large amounts of fabric. And then it's, with the cordage you can make all kind of things with it as well. So as an experimental dyer, yes, I would recommend dyeing cordage.
Kapu ike ai, la o kahalu.